Most traders spend their entire careers trying to extract money from the market. They chase it, they force it. They feel entitled to it after a few wins and betrayed when it doesn't show up on time. And the harder they try to make profits happen, the more elusive those profits become. The market doesn't respond to need. It doesn't reward effort. It doesn't care how badly you want to be right. Profits don't come from controlling outcomes, they come from alignment. Alignment is the invisible shift that happens when you stop fighting uncertainty and start operating in harmony with it. When your expectations, beliefs, rules, and execution are synchronized with how the market actually behaves, not how you wish it would behave. The secret isn't a setup. It isn't timing. It isn't information. The secret is learning how to position yourself psychologically so that profits no longer need to be chased. They are allowed to find you. Alignment begins at the exact moment you stop needing the market to cooperate with you, not when you finally find the right indicator, not when your win rate improves, not when a streak of profits convinces you that you've figured something out. Alignment begins much earlier and much deeper than that. It begins when your psychological relationship with the market fundamentally changes. Most traders enter the market with an unspoken contract in their minds. They believe that if they analyze correctly, work hard enough, or stay disciplined long enough, the market should respond by rewarding them. This belief is subtle, but it governs behavior. It creates expectation. And expectation is where misalignment is born. The market does not know you exist. It does not see your effort, your preparation, or your intention. It is not aware of your last loss, your drawdown, or your desire to recover. When you need the market to cooperate, you are asking an impersonal, random environment to behave personally. That request will always be denied. Needing cooperation means needing validation. It means needing the next trade to work so you can feel calm, confident, or justified. It means needing price to move in your favor to confirm that you were right. The problem is not the desire for profit. The problem is emotional dependency on outcome. The moment you emotionally depend on the market, your perception narrows. You stop seeing what is actually happening and start seeing what you hope will happen. Information that supports your expectation feels stronger. Information that contradicts it feels threatening or easy to dismiss. This is not a technical problem. It is a psychological one. Alignment requires the complete acceptance that the market owes you nothing. Not clarity, not consistency, not fairness, and certainly not profits. When this acceptance is real, not intellectual, your behavior changes without effort. You stop forcing trades. You stop interpreting random movement as opportunity. You stop reacting emotionally to normal fluctuations. Most traders believe they accept uncertainty, but their actions reveal otherwise. If you hesitate on valid signals, you have not accepted uncertainty. If you move a stop to avoid a loss, you have not accepted uncertainty. If you feel relief instead of neutrality after a winning trade, you have not accepted uncertainty. Acceptance is not what you say you believe. It is what your behavior proves under pressure. Needing the market to cooperate creates pressure before the trade even begins. That pressure turns execution into a performance rather than a process. Every tick becomes meaningful. Every pullback feels like a threat. Every pause feels like a warning. This is not alignment. This is resistance. Alignment feels completely different. When you are aligned, you are not trying to extract something from the market. You are positioning yourself within it. You are not asking the market to confirm you. You are observing it and responding according to predefined rules. In alignment, the question is never, will this trade work? That question implies attachment. The only question that matters is, did this trade meet my criteria? When your focus shifts to process instead of outcome, emotional volatility fades. Not because you suppress emotion, but because there is nothing left for emotion to attach itself to. The market is a probability distribution, unfolding in real time. Any single outcome is random. The edge exists only over a series of trades. When you truly understand this, the need for cooperation disappears. You no longer require this trade to be the one. You no longer need the market to behave in a specific way right now. Most traders say they think in probabilities, but they still experience disappointment, frustration, and fear after individual outcomes. This emotional response is proof that they are still thinking in certainties at a subconscious level. Alignment happens when probabilities are not just understood, but trusted. Trusting probabilities means being completely comfortable with not knowing what will happen next. It means accepting that losses are not mistakes, but natural expressions of randomness. It means understanding that a loss does not mean your edge has disappeared, and a win does not mean you are suddenly in sync with the market. When you stop needing cooperation, you stop negotiating with reality. You no longer argue with price. You no longer feel betrayed by normal market behavior. You no longer label the market as unfair, manipulated, or irrational. Those labels are emotional defenses against unmet expectations. Alignment is emotional neutrality, not apathy, not detachment from responsibility, but neutrality. You care about execution, not outcome. You are involved, but not entangled. This is why aligned traders appear calm even during drawdowns. They are not calm because they don't care. They're calm because nothing unexpected is happening. Losses were already accepted before the trade was placed. Wins were never assumed. When you need cooperation, you enter the market with hope. Hope is not a strategy. Hope is an admission that you are relying on the market to give you something you do not control. Aligned traders do not hope. They execute. Execution without need is clean. It is fast when it needs to be fast and patient when it needs to be patient. There is no internal debate because the decision has already been made by the rules. The trader simply follows through. Most psychological pain in trading comes from internal conflict. One part of you knows what to do, another part wants reassurance. One part trusts the system, another part wants certainty. This conflict disappears when the need for cooperation disappears. You cannot be aligned and needy at the same time. Need creates attachment. Attachment creates fear. Fear distorts perception. Distorted perception leads to poor decisions. The market does not punish traders. Traders punish themselves by fighting uncertainty instead of integrating it. Alignment is the integration of uncertainty into your identity as a trader. When uncertainty is no longer a threat, patience becomes natural. Waiting no longer feels like missing out. Missing a trade no longer feels like failure. You understand that opportunities are abundant and that your job is not to capture all of them, but to execute the ones that fit your edge. Needing cooperation also creates overtrading. When you feel behind, when you feel the urge to make something happen, when you feel that time is running out, you are no longer aligned. You are reacting to internal pressure, not market information. Bar alignment removes urgency. The market will still be there tomorrow. Your edge does not expire because you didn't trade today. When you stop trying to force alignment, alignment happens naturally. Bar. This is why simplicity increases performance. Complex systems often hide insecurity. They are attempts to eliminate uncertainty rather than accept it. A simple system, clearly defined and consistently executed, forces you to confront uncertainty honestly. Aligned traders do not try to avoid losses. They plan for them. They do not fear drawdowns. They measure them. They do not celebrate wins. They record them. Their emotional state remains stable because their expectations are realistic. When you no longer need the market to cooperate, you stop personalizing outcomes. A losing trade is not a reflection of your intelligence. A winning trade is not proof of mastery. Both are just data points in a larger distribution. Br. This is where real confidence comes from, not from being right, but from knowing that you can execute regardless of outcome. Confidence is not certainty. Confidence is self-trust in uncertainty. Alignment is not something you force yourself into. It is something that emerges when false beliefs are removed. The belief that you should be rewarded for effort. The belief that losses mean something about you. The belief that the market can be controlled. Once those beliefs dissolve, behavior changes automatically. Discipline stops being a struggle. Patience stops being painful. Consistency stops being an effort. You stop needing the market to cooperate because you no longer see it as something that should. You see it as something that simply is. And in that acceptance, in that neutrality, in that alignment, you finally give your edge the space it needs to work. Profits appear when execution becomes impersonal because the moment trading stops being about you, it finally becomes about probabilities. Most traders believe their problem is timing, analysis, or strategy, but the real problem is that their identity is woven into every decision they make. When execution is personal, every trade feels like a statement. A win feels like confirmation, a loss feels like rejection, and as long as trading carries emotional meaning, performance will remain unstable. Impersonal execution begins with the understanding that the market is not responding to your thoughts, your intelligence, or your effort. It is responding to order, flow, and randomness within a structured environment. When you treat each trade as a reflection of yourself, you introduce emotion into a space where emotion has no function. Emotion does not improve execution, it interferes with it. The personal trader is constantly monitoring how they feel. They ask themselves if they are confident, if the trade looks good, if the market agrees with them. These internal questions slow down execution and create hesitation. Hesitation does not come from lack of knowledge. It comes from emotional involvement. The trader is trying to protect their sense of self rather than follow a process. Impersonal execution removes that internal dialogue. There is nothing to protect because nothing personal is at risk. The trade is not a verdict on intelligence. It is not a judgment of ability. It is simply one occurrence within a statistical framework. When this is truly understood, execution becomes clean and direct. Most traders attempt to control outcomes because they believe outcomes define them. They manage trades too tightly because they want to avoid being wrong. They exit winners too early because they want to lock in validation. These behaviors feel logical on the surface, but they are emotional reactions disguised as risk management. When execution is impersonal, risk is defined before the trade is placed and accepted completely. Acceptance means there is no emotional response when that risk is realized. A loss does not trigger regret or self-criticism. It triggers a review of execution quality and nothing else. This is not emotional numbness. It is emotional clarity. The market offers infinite opportunities, but traders act as if each trade is a rare event. This scarcity mindset intensifies emotional attachment. When execution is personal, missing a trade feels painful and being wrong feels catastrophic. Impersonal execution understands that no single trade matters, only the consistency of behavior matters. One of the most difficult transitions for traders is letting go of the need to feel involved. Many believe that being emotionally engaged means they care. In reality, emotional engagement is a sign of insecurity. Professional performance in any probabilistic environment requires detachment from individual outcomes. This detachment is not indifference. It is commitment to process over outcome. The trader is fully engaged in preparation, rule design, and execution discipline, but emotionally neutral about what happens after entry. The outcome is allowed to unfold without interference. Interference is the enemy of edge. An edge only exists when it is executed consistently over time. When traders intervene by moving stops, skipping trades, or exiting early, they are not managing risk, they are expressing fear or hope. Fear and hope are emotional responses to uncertainty. Impersonal execution integrates uncertainty rather than fighting it. The personal trader wants reassurance. They watch the screen for signs that they are right. Every favorable tick provides relief. Every unfavorable tick produces anxiety. This emotional roller coaster drains focus and leads to impulsive decisions. The trader is reacting to price rather than following structure. Impersonal execution removes the need for reassurance. There is nothing to be reassured about. The rules have already defined the trade. The risk has already been accepted. The only responsibility left is to allow the trade to reach its conclusion according to the plan. This is why simplicity is critical. Complex systems invite interpretation. Interpretation invites personal bias. The more discretion a trader allows without structure, the more opportunity there is for emotion to influence execution. A clearly deaf in-ed system limits choice, and limited choice reduces emotional involvement. When execution is impersonal, winning streaks do not inflate confidence, and losing streaks do not damage it. Confidence is no longer tied to recent outcomes. It is anchored in the ability to follow rules under all conditions. This creates emotional stability, which is the foundation of consistent performance. Many traders chase consistency by trying to control emotions. This approach fails because emotion is a byproduct of belief. You cannot suppress emotion while holding beliefs that create emotional responses. Impersonal execution changes the belief system, and emotion naturally recalibrates. The belief that must change is the belief that you are the center of the trading experience. You are not. You are a participant in a market that functions independently of your presence. When this belief becomes real, humility replaces ego, and ego is the source of most trading errors. Ego wants to be right. Ego wants recognition. Ego wants certainty. The market offers none of these reliably. When ego is involved, execution becomes inconsistent because decisions are filtered through self-image. Impersonal execution removes ego from the decision-making process. This does not mean the trader becomes passive or careless. On the contrary, impersonal execution demands higher standards. Rules must be clear, risk must be precise, execution must be exact. The difference is that these standards are applied mechanically, not emotionally. As execution becomes impersonal, patience increases naturally. There is no rush to trade because there is no emotional pressure to perform. Waiting becomes easy because no NG is being delayed. The trader understands that opportunity is continuous, not occasional. The market does not reward effort. It rewards alignment with probability. Effort applied emotionally produces tension. Effort applied structurally produces consistency. Impersonal execution is structural effort. Over time, something subtle but powerful happens. The trader stops thinking in terms of wins and losses and starts thinking in terms of execution quality. This shift transforms the trading experience. Stress decreases, focus sharpens, performance stabilizes, profits are not forced. They are a natural outcome of consistent, impersonal behavior in a probabilistic environment. When execution becomes impersonal, the trader stops sabotaging their edge, and when sabotage disappears, probabilities are allowed to express themselves. This is why profits appear, not because the trader becomes more intelligent or more intuitive, but because they finally stop interfering. They stop trying to prove something. They stop trying to protect something. They stop trying to control something that cannot be controlled. Impersonal execution is not cold. It is clear. It is not rigid. It is precise. It does not remove responsibility. It removes emotional distortion. When trading becomes impersonal, the market becomes readable. Not predictable, but readable. The trader responds instead of reacts. They execute instead of interpret. They allow instead of force. And in that space, free of ego, fear, and hope, profits are finally given the room they need to appear. Letting profits find you requires trust in the process, not trust in the outcome. Most traders believe these two ideas are the same, but they are opposites. Trusting outcomes means hoping the next trade will work. Trusting the process means being completely at ease with whatever the next trade delivers. One creates emotional dependency. The other creates consistency. The desire to know what will happen next is deeply human. The mind is conditioned to seek certainty, to reduce risk by predicting outcomes. In trading, this instinct becomes a liability. The market is an environment where uncertainty is permanent and unavoidable. Any attempt to escape it only increases emotional tension and degrades performance. Traders who focus on outcomes are constantly monitoring results for reassurance. A winning trade produces relief. A losing trade produces doubt. Over time, this cycle erodes confidence because confidence becomes tied to things that cannot be controlled. The trader is emotionally stable only when the market cooperates and unstable when it does not. Trusting the process reverses this relationship. Confidence no longer comes from price movement. It comes from execution. The trader knows, before entering the trade, that the outcome is unknowable and irrelevant. What matters is whether the trade aligns with predefined criteria and whether risk is managed according to plan. This shift is not philosophical, it is practical. When you trust the process, hesitation disappears. You no longer wait for extra confirmation because you are not trying to increase certainty. You are accepting uncertainty as a cost of participation. Execution becomes timely and consistent. Most traders believe they trust their system, but their behavior reveals otherwise. They skip trades after losses. They reduce size after winning streaks. They override rules when emotions are high. These behaviors signal that trust is conditional. Conditional trust is not trust at all. True process trust is unconditional. It does not fluctuate with recent results. It does not weaken during drawdowns. It does not require constant proof. It is built through testing, repetition, and experience, not through hope. When process trust is present, losses do not trigger emotional reactions. They are expected, planned for, and accepted. Acceptance does not mean indifference. It means there is no resistance. Resistance is what creates emotional pain. Pain arises when reality violates expectation. When expectations are aligned with uncertainty, pain dissolves. Trusting the process also eliminates the need to rush. Urgency is a symptom of outcome fixation. When traders feel behind, they try to make something happen. They take marginal trades. They increase size impulsively. These behaviors are attempts to force results. A trader who trusts the process understands that performance unfolds over time. There is no need to accelerate it. There is no deadline imposed by the market. The edge does not disappear because you waited. This perspective changes how time is experienced. Waiting no longer feels like inactivity. It feels like discipline in motion. Not trading becomes as meaningful as trading because both are expressions of the same process. Most traders underestimate how deeply outcome attachment shapes their decisions. They think the problem is emotional weakness, but the real issue is belief. The belief that a good trader should be able to predict. The belief that consistency comes from being right more often. The belief that losses mean something has gone wrong. Trusting the process dismantles these beliefs. It replaces them with a more accurate understanding of how markets work. Markets reward consistency of behavior, not accuracy of prediction. They reward alignment with probability, not control over outcome. When you trust the process, you stop measuring success by daily profit and loss. You measure it by execution quality. Did you follow your rules? Did you respect risk? Did you remain neutral regardless of outcome? These questions are fully within your control. This shift stabilizes emotions because control is returned to where it belongs. The trader is no longer trying to control the market. They are controlling their behavior. This is the only form of control that exists in trading. Letting profits find you does not mean being passive. It means being precise without force. It means placing yourself in positions where the market can reward you if probabilities unfold, without trying to make that reward happen. Many traders sabotage this process by exiting winners too early. They are afraid to give profits back. This fear reveals a lack of process trust. If the process were trusted, the trader would allow the trade to reach its logical conclusion. Early exits are emotional compromises, not strategic decisions. Similarly, traders hold losers too long because they want the market to come back. This behavior also reflects outcome attachment. Trusting the process means trusting stops. It means accepting loss as a normal cost, not something to be avoided at all costs. Over time, trusting the process produces emotional resilience. Drawdowns no longer feel personal. Winning streaks no longer create overconfidence. The trader's internal state remains stable because it is no longer linked to external events. This stability allows for clearer perception. When emotion is not distorting vision, the market becomes easier to read, not because it is predictable, but because the trader is not projecting hopes or fears onto it. Letting profits find you also requires patience with yourself. Many traders abandon processes prematurely because they expect immediate results. They underestimate the time required for probabilities to express themselves. Process trust includes trust in time. Consistency is not created in a week or a month. It is built through repetition across varying market conditions. Each trade is a small sample. Only over time does the edge reveal itself. When you truly trust the process, there is nothing to force. You do not chase trades. You do not revenge trade after losses. You do not feel compelled to trade every day. You understand that your job is to be available when opportunity appears, not to manufacture opportunity. This is what it means to let profits find you. You create the conditions. You follow the rules. You manage risk. And then you step aside. The market decides the outcome. You decide the behavior. This division of responsibility is the foundation of professional trading. When it is respected, stress decreases and performance improves. When it is violated, emotional chaos follows. Trusting the process does not guarantee profits on every trade. It guarantees something far more valuable, consistency of behavior, and consistency of behavior is the only thing that produces consistency of results over time. Profits are a byproduct. They cannot be demanded. They cannot be negotiated. They can only be allowed. When you stop asking the market to reward you and start committing to a process you trust, something shifts. Trading becomes quieter. Decisions become simpler. Results become more stable. You stop chasing outcomes and start executing probabilities. And in that execution, in that patience, in that trust, profits finally find you. Letting profits find you is not about doing more. It is about interfering less. When you stop demanding certainty, stop personalizing outcomes, and stop forcing results, trading becomes an exercise in alignment rather than struggle. Trusting the process stabilizes your behavior, and stable behavior allows probabilities to unfold naturally. The market does not reward hope, fear, or effort. It rewards consistency under uncertainty. When execution is clean, expectations are neutral, and responsibility is placed where it belongs. Profits no longer need to be chased. They arrive as a natural consequence of discipline, patience, and trust.